Ghosty fam, Amy here. Welcome to The Activity Continues, a podcast where three soul friends talk about all things paranormal. Ghosts, hauntings, psychics, movies and TV shows, especially The Dead Files, and other spooky and spooky adjacent things. We also like to interview people in the paranormal community, as well as past Dead Files clients and other interesting people. Sometimes we even tell your stories. I hope you enjoy the show.
Hello. Thanks, everyone, for joining us again. We are today going to be talking about Dead Files episode, Inviting Evil. We haven't done a recap in a while, so this is going to get the brains exercising again.
I hope we remember how to do it.
Yeah. So Inviting Evil is on Max and on Travel Channel On Demand, season 9, episode 9, because there weren't episodes that were changed out from that season. We want to thank our patron Shannon for requesting this one. It is a very interesting, and I will forewarn, a little dark episode, a little darker than normal.
Yeah.
So again, thank you, Shannon, for sending that out. Listeners, if you would like us to cover your favorite episode, please shoot us a message or an email
beep, beep.
Or a private message. Anything that you can get to us at some point. Carrier pigeon.
Carrier pigeon. Falcon.
Yeah, falcons just might eat something, but
listen,
nonetheless.
They did it in Game of Thrones.
Okay. Then it's possible.
Send us an episode and why you liked it. We'll take all recommendations.
Yeah.
Amy, what are we warning people about today?
We are warning about, let's see, there is talk of suicide and suicidal thoughts, depression, a recent loss of a spouse. That's just very quickly mentioned. It's not dwelled upon really. Murder and sexual assaults. But we will not be going into anything too much, I don't think. I mean, we may talk about the murder and stuff, but
yes,
nothing that will, we're not going to get too grisly.
No.
Maybe brown bear, but not grizzly.
Oh, that reminds me, we were going to chat about the bear situation. AP brought this up to me in a chat. We didn't bother Megan because she was busy at work or whatever. And so then Amy sent us a really cute video of a bear
at the Wildlife Science
Megan's
Center.
Like, hey, that whole bear thing that's going on. We're like, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
It's always the bear. Always the bear.
Oh, it's the bear. So guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, there is I don't know what you want to call it.
Trend.
It's all social media.
Yeah. It's all over social media.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
I haven't seen it on Facebook. Honestly, I don't hardly go on Facebook.
I don't go on Facebook either.
But
Reels, at least.
I've seen probably 50 videos on TikTok. The question being, when you ask a woman if she's alone in the woods, would she rather be confronted or meet a bear or a man? And she will pick bear
every
time.
Single time.
This is not a Hallmark movie.
No. And the reason being, and I've seen so many good lines in the comments, is like, if you meet a bear, you know their intentions, or a bear will leave me alone, or a bear doesn't see me as a threat, or if I get attacked by a bear, somebody will believe me. Or if I get attacked by a bear, they won't ask me what I was wearing.
Yep.
Or they won't ask me how much I've had to drink.
Yep.
Or why I was out there.
Mm-hmm. You know, they might ask you why you were out there, but nonetheless.
But it won't take away from, they won't be blaming me. They'll just be
victim blaming,
Yeah. So every single time, I don't care. Polar bear, grizzly bear, brown bear, panda bear, koala bear. It'll all be, I know a koala bear is not a bear, but.
Black bear.
Did I not say that?
Correct.
Oh, black bear. Which is the super most dangerous one? I think it's grizzly bear in North America.
Well, North America is polar.
But lower North America is grizzly.
Yeah.
Are they the ones with the hump?
Yes.
Yes. Still prefer them to a man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But yeah, it's and the men are like, why? My mom was mauled by a grizzly bear.
The ones who are doing it, though, the ones who are doing that are the ones who are the not all men guys.
Yeah.
Because the ones who are not those guys don't have to say not all men. And they also are the ones that say, you know, when I'm walking and I'm coming up quickly on somebody because I have a long stride, I move way over. I cross the street. Or I say, hey, approaching on your left, which you should do anytime you're out on a walk, run, hike, biking, anything like that. You should always tell people you're coming up behind them.
Yeah.
I saw one guy and he was reading statistics and there was like 466 bear attacks since 1786. And like maybe
Gotta
it
go way
doesn't,
back to get that.
maybe it doesn't have been fatal. And then he did another one and it was like, how many women have been attacked by men? And he's like 433,000 per year. Women are attacked by men. And I don't remember those numbers correctly.
Throwing out of the first ones are probably not accurate since 1776. But yes, nonetheless.
But the point is, you're infinitely more in danger from a man than a bear.
Yep.
I would say I would recommend, if you are on Facebook, go check out James Fell. He's an author. He's Canadian, but he had a post out there today, which is what spiked my send to Amy on this. He rides bike up in Canada and he had over 50 encounters with a bear last year, with different bears last year. He just happened to see them, never had any like physical encounter with them. But he posted that. He's like, yeah, 100% understand why women would always choose the bear.
I mean, a man would probably choose a bear if you asked him.
Yeah.
No, because they're not going to get graped by a man. Most of them.
Yeah.
They can still get murdered.
Yes.
They can.
So.
Yeah.
So that's
it's an interesting social experiment.
It really is. And it's really sad. And the fact that there are people who are still denying it is like, what's wrong with our society? The fact that
literally,
I mean, almost every woman would say a bear, and that should tell you something. They're more afraid of a predator than a man. I mean, they're less afraid of a predator than a man.
Yeah. Well, and this also ties a little bit into the 4B movement that everyone's been talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always those certain guys that come on all upset. And now then they're making their own 4G movement.
Well,
5G, I think is what it's called.
5G. Because they got to have one more.
Well, of course. Because they're
working for the internet companies and the phone companies.
Verizon and AT&T started it, and then T-Mobile's kind of picked it up. It's really getting momentum.
Yeah, and they're like, "Well, fine, then we're not going to date you." It's like,
oh no,
I don't think you had a choice in the matter.
Darn it!
Exactly, that's the thing, though. It's like the people that you're going to break up with, and they're like, "Well, I'm going to break up with you first," and it's like,
but these guys are all the ones who would call themselves alphas,
which
is an immediate red flag.
Yes, I saw a really cute video of this guy. He's in his car, and he's like, "4B movement. I'm 100% for it. I love it. Go for it. Please take me with you." He's like, "You got to think about all the soft boys out there. We're not all like that, and so." Don't leave us with them.
I saw a woman and she was talking and she was like, the 4B movement is really serious. And I'm like, how did this bitch end up on my FYP? But then she goes, okay, so every woman is going to die with a cat. Are we going to run out of cats? And she was like, and I'm like, no, but you had me going.
Yeah.
Well, and I just happened to see other ones of guy just kind of talking through, and he goes, I'm in tech, and when we talk about alpha, that's like the first version of things, and that's like the tester version for everything to go wrong with.
Yeah.
So, and for everybody, this is from like working with people who work with animals, they all took this from being the alpha wolf. They don't use the term alpha anymore, and I think part of it is because of this stupid
connotations.
Yes, because so it's the breeding pair. That's who leads a pack, is the breeding female and the breeding male.
Oh.
Amy, you got housekeeping.
Oh yes. Today, in our world, today is April 29th, but this is coming out in 4 weeks. 4.5 weeks. So that day is Amy Allan's birthday.
Happy birthday.
So,
Ooh, Gemini.
The day that this comes out is Amy Allan's birthday. So happy birthday, Amy Allan. We love you. We love you. Please
we love you so much. Come on our show. We'll be nice.
Yep. We'll fawn all over you.
We probably won't even form a coherent sentence. We'll just all be drooling at you.
Some of us will be able to form a coherent sentence.
Not me.
I can probably keep it together while it's happening. I'm going to be a mess in the beginning, and I'll be a mess afterwards.
I will be sweating profusely.
Yeah, I'll be sweating for sure.
There's not enough deodorant that will keep
Wear
the
black
stench
that day.
off my body. Yeah. I'm going to need to.
Yep.
I have a feeling. I know we're acting like it's already scheduled.
I know
we do not have Amy Allan scheduled.
You guys would be the first to know.
But we are hoping.
We're manifesting.
We're manifesting. We're pretending like it's already happening.
Yes.
But yeah, we would love to have her on. I think it would be a blast. But you know what? I've seen her do lives and stuff. She is so cool and down to earth. I have a feeling that within minutes we'd all just be comfortable. I don't think we'd still be fangirling. We'd just get used to it, I think.
Have we met?
Because she's cool.
She is cool. And that's why I'd be like, oh my God, Amy Allan, I love you so much. Be my friend forever. BFFs. Let's get tattoos. And
no pressure though.
I gotta go.
She's like, oh, look at the tat.
Oh, you just gotta go. So
except she probably wouldn't do it in a Minnesota accent.
No, she'd be like, heart attack, I gotta go. Just kidding. I love you, Amy Allan. I love you so much. Okay, so happy birthday, Amy Allan. We hope you have a wonderful day and it's super relaxing and you do everything you want to do. Whatever that includes
listening to this podcast.
Of course it does. She probably has it set to download right at midnight.
I hope so. All right, so AP has written an overview and she is going to read that for us.
Yeah. Today, we are traveling to Berthoud, Colorado to meet Rebecca, her mom, Linda, and Rebecca's boyfriend, Mike. Rebecca grew up in the home that her parents built in 1984, and she has lived there on and off throughout her adult years and currently lives there with her mom. Her father passed away about 6 months before the crews were there. Was he impacted by what's happening in the house? Rebecca is feeling targeted by whatever is in the house. And not just at her house, but also when she stays with her boyfriend Mike at his house. She's being physically assaulted and more. She shares pictures of some of the worst bruises and scratches I've seen shown on the show. Something is definitely going on here. Rebecca and her childhood friend Heidi have both seen different things that will make your skin crawl. We'll describe more later. We learn that Mike and Rebecca have dabbled in a few different things, including the $12.99 demon board. Does this have anything to do with the situation at hand? Steve investigates everything from a relatively recent 12 years deadly car crash to testing the water for contamination due to fracking. We also learn a little history of the nearby property with yet another brutal murder that happened in the late 1800s. Amy explains that she is pretty sick during the episode and waits to open until she's on site, which is not what she normally does. Amy exclaims there's a lot of chaotic energy coming from the living, not the dead. She talks about what appears to be a very confused, delusional shadow person who believes the living woman is a shadow person and needs to return to their realm with it. A lot comes out at the reveal, including eye rolls from Amy, the blame game from one of the clients, and a very unhappy Steve. Is Rebecca able to live peacefully in her home with her mom? Stay tuned to find out if the activity continues.
Very nice.
I'm doing everything I can to not talk about what I really want to talk about because we're not there yet. And everybody knows.
We all have the same feelings.
I know. It's true. That's why it's so great because we're almost always on the same page with the podcast or with the episodes.
Yeah. Especially when it pertains to this
to the demon board.
Yep.
Well, that too, but the person running the no board.
Yep.
Yeah, when in the opening credits, when they show him and he says, well, we did mess around with a Ouija board. I wrote, ruh-roh.
I always fast forward through those, the opening credits.
I do too. Or I have them playing while I'm getting ready. So I don't even pay attention to them.
Oh,
well,
I like it.
I have.
Well, that's good.
I love how I have all my notes color coded so I know which person was talking at the time.
Oh, mine are too.
Yep.
Oh, you can't see that, but they are.
Nope. But I do have at the beginning here, Steve is talking about Rebecca thinks something is killing her from the inside out. And I just said, great, sounds like fun. We got another help where they'll die situation.
Yes.
And
get your bingo cards out. There's a few in this one.
There's a few in
definitely
this one.
A few. And I caught pretty early on when Matt was doing the clearing, there was a lot of unique artifacts, multiple religious type things. So not just Christianity, but I saw there was a Buddha, there was a dream catcher, there was a lot of stuff that went across different religions.
But I'm wondering if it's because she was so tormented that she was just grasping at straws.
Trying everything.
Yeah.
I have a theory, but we'll talk about that later on.
Okay.
So,
one of the first things I noted is that Amy sounded sick as a fucking dog.
She sounded like she smoked a pack a day.
Her voice was like this.
Yeah, she did.
And that's when she tells us, she's sick. So that's why she's opening at the house. But one of the things that she says right off the bat is she sees blood everywhere.
Yes.
Very dreamlike. A woman is crying. It's a nightmare. I'm like, what is the blood everywhere for? Like,
yeah.
And she said it was like sliding down the walls or something.
Yeah.
And I wondered.
Nice picture, but I don't like it.
I wondered if it was part of like her delirium or something. Because it didn't really seem to have much to do with.
No, and it didn't really tie into anything later on in the show. So it was just like that one point, but it was creepy.
Yeah, it was.
Which is rare for Amy.
Yeah. I put next that we go back to Steve and he goes, I can hear the desperation in your voice. It's like, very chill, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You mentioned the dad who had passed away 6 months prior. Kidney failure. But he died in hospice, not at the house.
Yep.
And we see a photo.
He was 82, by the way.
Okay. And she says that he had depression as well. And I immediately wondered if, like, either he killed himself or like drank himself into.
But wouldn't that be more liver failure?
Well, I think that alcohol will kill all your organs, but yeah, it definitely is the liver. That's the first thing to go.
It would go towards liver, but yeah. I actually, they also said like he saw people who weren't there kind of thing. And so it made me wonder if there wasn't actually more something going on in his brain. More than depression and that. And that's, I did find his obituary, and that's why I had that other thought about, in the obituary, it talked about that he was a study of Native American culture. So I'm curious if those artifacts were not for her thinking of things, but that he had brought them in throughout the years as part of his own, broadening of horizons and stuff.
Yeah, he would say that he had visitors today.
Yep.
I had visitors today, but I know they're not real.
Yep.
Yeah. That was probably in hospice because that does happen.
It sounded like they said that it was before that he left hospice.
Yeah.
For hospice,
really?
Though. Yeah.
The way that I got it is he would say that in the house, like when he was not, as super sick as he was. Like he would just say, oh, I had visitors today. Like
my grandma was like that.
Did you get the milk and the eggs?
But along with that, we hear a little bit from Rebecca about, what I already said. They grew up in the house, blah, blah, blah. She thinks that the activity got bad 2 years ago when they started fracking for oil in the area, which fracking is blasting through rock with water, sometimes sand and other things and chemicals in order to extrude oil from the area.
Yeah, I was very glad they explained it in the episode because I had no idea what it was.
I was too. Yeah.
And she also said that not only did he have depression, but they've done some cleansings, had an exorcist, have had demonologists come out. Each one has helped for a short time. And that's key to remember, just as in Easter egg right here. And I just put down all the classic signs of what we hear.
But this one was, the activity was the worst I think I've ever heard in the show of what was being done to her.
Yeah, it was a lot of like people getting thrown around and stuff.
Not people. One person.
One person.
Okay. One person.
Yes. She got and this is where Amy says about the chaotic energy. It's from the living. There's too much noise. A lot of yelling, a man and a woman yelling,
a man and a
arguing.
woman. Yep.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And then we cut away to where Rebecca's talking about how she got pushed and she got knocked over a knee wall. And Steve goes, I hate to be an ass, but are you clumsy at all? And I just put, okay, Steve, clumsy people don't just stumble around.
No.
Like,
like, what do you think we're doing? Just like, whoa, I can't even walk.
I can't even walk today. Why do I have one roller skate on?
And bless her heart, she goes, not that clumsy, Steve.
Not that clumsy. Yeah.
Like, clumsy is like you grab a glass and drop it, not, oh shit, I'm going to trip over a fucking wall.
Yeah.
Steven.
Well, and then when she explains that she saw this black creature with tentacles and shiny and it has no face. And he says, are you on any medication?
Yep. Classic.
Which is code for, are you boozing?
You boozing?
It's either boozing or medication. We don't do both, but we'll do one or the other.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then when she shows the photos, which AP referred to, those were horrendous. Those were some really bad bruises and scratches.
They were. Usually when you see a bruise or a scratch on the show, I'm like, at least for me, it's faint.
Or it looks like a cat scratch. Or
I have to squint and like, is it there? This was like, there was blood in these photos. Like it was, and the bruise was purple.
And these were big bruises.
And it was like the whole width of her arm or leg or whatever.
It wasn't like a little, like,
and
boop,
he did
bruise.
ask if it was the cats this time.
Yes, he asked if it was the cats.
And she says the cats sleep in their own room at night. So she did also mention that she's been assaulted in her bed. And as Steve said, glad I took this case.
Yeah.
Well, there was a point in the episode too with Rebecca as she's talking with Steve at this point, and she talks about getting punched in the face in her bed and she has a tooth knocked out. You know that someone was like, take it out, because she has a flipper. So flippers are typically what somebody gets in like hockey or something because it's not permanent yet. And so she
took it out.
Yeah, she was like, right here. And then she just yanked it out.
Yeah. And you know that wasn't just her doing that. That was definitely somebody. I'm like, did we really need to have her
to see that? But I guess for the doubters, I mean, I kind of get it. But I mean, she said she was laying in bed and she went to sit up and she said she got punched so hard in the face that it knocked her tooth out.
That's crazy.
And Steve was like, was it the cats? I'm just kidding. He didn't say that, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Not that time he did.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I was wondering like if there was something above her bed that she could have woken up and smashed her head into, but didn't look like there was anything over her bed.
Her mouth, like a bar would have had to be here. And how hard are you smashing your mouth?
And it wasn't her front tooth. It
was
was
the
her
side
over here. Yeah.
Her canine.
A canine.
But after this conversation with Steve, we cut to Amy. And what does Amy say? It wants to take her through the walls.
Yes.
This person probably has bruises and scratches because it can't take living thing through the walls.
Yeah.
But if it does, she'll just go missing.
Yeah.
That's so
Which
crazy.
is terrifying.
Yep.
And it makes me wonder how many people who are missing have actually been taken to another realm.
Yeah.
And if that happens, sorry, I'm going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole here. But like, if that happens, a tangent, if you will, what does that, like, does that affect your longevity? Like, would you live the same amount of time in another realm? Could you live longer and or shorter? I mean, how does that work?
I don't know.
Because like books that I do read books, and they talk about going into the Fae world, and like time is so much slower that like you could be in the Fae world for 60 years and only like a year has passed in the human world. So like, what if that happens? That would be horrific if it was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, just food for thought, everybody. You're welcome.
All I know is I loved when Amy was talking about the trying to take her through the walls, and she goes, which doesn't work when you're alive.
Trying to take them through the walls, which doesn't work if you're alive.
Yeah. I was like, oh, Amy, I love you.
I'll insert that here.
She was just really confused and like, what is this thing doing? Like, it's actually a shadow person, but what the hell is it doing?
Because it wasn't really acting the way normal shadow people would act from what I got from her.
Yeah, she did say that, I think.
So she's like, well, it's a shadow person, but like not a normal shadow person.
Then after this, we meet Heidi.
Yes.
She was cute.
She refuses to go in the house.
I liked her necklace.
Yeah.
I liked everything about her. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not
She refused
relevant,
to
but-
she refused to go in the house because she felt vulnerable with her having recently lost her husband.
Yeah.
So she also recently lost her husband, but she remembers things from back when they were kids and seeing something impish that was
Which I
black
hate.
and white,
Don't
with
like
a
it.
pointy head, small sharp teeth, big eyes, and says, "I really hope you can help her."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they also talk about when they saw somebody in the barn, like go in the
Mhm.
barn, and Steve is like, well, could it have been a barn hand? And she goes, well, we went down there and there was nobody there.
Mhm.
Steve.
He's got to ask the questions. Yeah.
I get he's trying to debunk it. I get it. But like, I just.
Yeah. Well, then we see Amy, who sees the demon,
Mhm.
and she says it has no real body, but has legs and arms. It slithers. It has a fat trunk and a triangle head with ear things. She goes like this ear
Which
thing.
the triangle head, and Amy, you would know this maybe better. AP would know this better than me, but isn't there like a slug or an amoeba or something that has like a real or like a there's something that a planaria has a triangle-y head, and that's what I thought of when she said that. Look at me. Oh my God, I'm
at
so
you. You
scientific.
pulled that word right out of your ass, and I think it's even right.
I can't remember if it's Polarinia, but yeah,
Planaria.
I can't remember
I'm
if
gonna
it
look it
was
up right
that or
now while
not.
you guys talk.
I have too many microscopic things going on in my brain, so.
I just remembered when we were talking about this little demon thing, and because I thought of it while we were watching the show. I forgot to tell you guys about my dream last week that I was going to tell you about. I don't know if we want to get into that right now or not, but it reminded me of that thing. All right, it's quick.
That's what he said.
So I was on a boat. I was with Greg and another friend. I don't know who the other person was. And we were coming back to our boat that we lived on. It was docked. And Greg and the other person stayed on the dock. I went into the boat to let the dogs out.
Okay.
So you let the dogs out.
We finally know.
I don't know. I never saw the dogs, so I don't know which dogs these were, or if they were even, they were small though, because they were all in a small enclosure. And I started to open the dog thing, and I heard like a whoosh, and I felt like a lightness. And I looked over where the window was because I was underneath, inside the boat. I looked out and I could see the ocean below me.
Okay.
I was up in the air.
What?
And then I looked over another window, and what I saw was a giant creature, like a whale sort of, only it had a triangle, diamond almost, triangle-y mouth. And the boat that I'm in is coming back down right into this thing's mouth. So what I surmised happened was that it came under the boat and shot the boat up.
Oh.
And then the boat was coming down and it was opening its mouth to receive,
to eat the boat.
So it was a cat playing with its food.
Or a killer
kind
whale.
of. And the cool part about it, scary, but also cool, was I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to die. And I don't really want to know what this is going to feel like. So I'm just going to leave my body now. And I felt this really weird sensation of like complete calm. Like no sound, no feeling, except for just sort of lightness. And I woke up right after that. And because it was such a scary dream, usually when I wake up from a scary dream, my heart is going 1,000 miles a minute. And I'm, shaking and I'm sweating.
Awake. Yeah.
I woke up and I was like, I have never felt so peaceful in my whole life.
Lucid dreaming, maybe?
It was very bizarre, but cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Flatworm. Hammerhead flatworm.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I can picture them. I can picture dissecting them. Or not
And
dissecting
that's
them,
what
but
I was
like looking
thinking
at
of.
them. Yep.
Is a hammerhead flatworm. Anyways.
Flatworms are gross.
Cool.
So I want to talk a little bit about when we meet Linda. I don't like this segment.
No, I don't either.
I don't.
Linda. Oh, she's the mom.
The
Right.
mom.
So I struggle with this part of it because so she's worried about her daughter. She feels her husband, but doesn't think that's a negative experience. We never hear anything from Amy about if her husband is still there.
Yeah.
And I was curious if there was an age gap because he was 82 and she
looked
quite
maybe
younger.
60s.
So I would say early 70s is kind of where, like late 60s, early 70s is where I would put in her. But she talks about not feeling good sitting in the chair. Now, the chair is right next to his armchair.
Yep.
In the room that they probably spent a lot of time together.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Steve then says, "Can you sit in the chair? I'm curious if anything happens while I'm here." Because she talks about a pressure.
Yeah, like on her chest.
I personally don't think anything of this is paranormal. I think this is sadness.
Yeah.
I think this
or
is
grief. Yeah.
immense grief and sadness and everything of sitting in the same spot next to his chair that he spent probably years of his life in with her.
Yep.
And I did not like that they had her in there, that they asked her to sit in that because
you could tell it took a toll
It
on
really
her.
bothered her. You could tell,
Yeah. And yes, Steve, she says, "I don't feel good," in reference to it. And at Steve's, like, she starts crying. Steve's like, "Oh, can I hug you?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's why I don't want to spend any time in here." No shit, Sherlock. My grandpa was the same way. Once my grandma died, he was adamant that he did not want to go into a nursing home or any of that sort of stuff or a assisted living facility. But as soon as she passed, he was like, there's too many memories here. I've got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I said, there's obviously something else going on here. So, and she then afterwards said she hears scratching and stuff in the walls or outside. This part I can believe more so. And she's also had pest control out there to see if there's been any issues.
Infestations or raccoons or squirrels or anything.
And then she mentioned something Rebecca seemed to have left out earlier on.
Yeah.
That Rebecca's boyfriend has dabbled in Ouija boards.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm
Rebecca.
curious how the $12.99 demon boards got left out of that conversation, which also plays into stuff that happens later that I think makes a lot of sense at this point in time.
Yep. Okay, so then the next thing we see is Amy. She is told that the demon is storming the house. She's being told that the living people here have collected the demon. She assumed it came from the land originally, but a male brought it in. And she says, "What are they doing to make a demon come on up?"
I'm pretty sure she said, "What the fuck you doing?"
Yeah.
Making a demon
Amy
come
edited
up.
for our family-friendly podcast.
Because we're so
far
friendly.
we're there.
Yeah, I just put ... in my notes, so I didn't remember that. She probably swear, but yeah, she probably said, "What in the fuck are they doing?"
What the fuck are they doing making a demon come on up?
And then she said, oh my God, why can't I think of his name? Matthew? Is that his
Mike?
name? Mike, no. Cameraman.
Matt.
Jesus. So Matt was like, well, when is this? And she said it's relatively recent, within 50 years. So that's crucial to the reveal too.
Yep.
So put that nugget in your back pocket too, everybody.
That's right. Next, we meet our favorite.
My hackles were up as soon as he opened his mouth.
Yeah.
Like I messaged Amy because I knew she had watched it already. And I said, I am having such a visceral body reaction to this person.
I hated him. Arrogance was oozing out only him.
I really, really hope she's not with him anymore.
I do too.
Yeah. It only got worse the more he talked.
I mean, maybe he's a good person, and maybe he just got turned into it from the editing. But I don't know. Like,
yeah, I hate to rip him a new one entirely, and unless or until we speak to her or him, but they did not make him come across likable at all.
Paint him in a light that is flattering.
But, like sometimes, and, obviously we didn't meet this person in life, but when you meet somebody and you're just like, oh, no.
Yeah.
That's the feeling. Like my hair was standing on end.
And everybody, trust your reactions when you have that. fuck politeness. If you get that and you meet somebody in the wild, they're
Thank you,
bad
Karen
news.
in Georgia, for that.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. If you take anything away from them, fuck politeness. You don't owe anybody anything.
That's right.
If you get a bad feeling from someone, you better skedaddle because your
Yeah.
gut is telling you, and it's never wrong. And I'm off my soapbox. I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
There was a few things that he said, like, okay, he's witnessed her not only at her house, but at his house. He's witnessed her being choked, thrown about, thrown across the room, thrown into walls,
thrown into the closet.
He has several journals documenting the accounts. The way that he said that felt like he was a researcher watching an experiment.
A subject. Yeah. It wasn't that of a caring boyfriend fearing for his girlfriend's safety.
And then Steve goes, so Linda said that none of this violence happened until you were in the picture.
And I was like, yes, Steve, call him out.
Yep. And he's like, well, yeah, we have messed with the Ouija board a few times and done some ghost tours. And then Steve's like, is that it? And he's like, well, and EVP.
He's like, okay, so that's 3 things now.
And then he's like,
Mike said, we've done a couple of things. We've, ghost tours and Ouija board. And then that's when Steve goes, anything else? He goes, and EVPs. And Steve goes, so 3 things you've done.
So 3 things. Is there anything else?
And Reiki master and demonologist, another medium.
Yeah. And then he brings up all that other shit. Okay.
Because the fact of the matter is, the way that he said it, the fact of the matter is, Rebecca is a bright light and she attracts a lot of bugs. Until she believes in herself, stuff won't change.
Oh, so victim blaming out the gate.
Who are you? Who are you, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also bugs like you.
Yeah, that's what I wrote in mine. You mean like you?
And I wrote, Steve looks ready to throttle this guy.
Steve is not taking any of this guy's shit.
He's playing more of a game with her. And documenting for his own sick evidence. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about it.
And it's just so victim blamey. Like, until she believes in herself, none of this will change.
Well, and clearly,
it's giving me, oh, but what was she wearing?
Well, and he's not helping her self-esteem by calling her a bug attractor and telling her that she has no.
Yeah. So now she's a bug zapper. Great.
Yeah. Telling her that she has no confidence. That's not a way to boost someone's confidence.
Also, I know it's not 100% his job, but as her significant other, it's sort of your job to boost her confidence.
Yeah. I mean,
you're her partner.
You should not be making it worse.
No, you're her partner. You're supposed to be building her up.
At least from what they show, he doesn't say anything about how, other than calling her a bright light, he doesn't show anything about like what a great person she is and the things that she does and how she's a great sister or aunt or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was not a fan of Mike from the get-go.
Yep.
Well, next we go on to Amy, who's like, I'm being told someone is doing a Ouija board here. And they've summoned these things. It has a relationship with a male that brought it back.
She said accidentally brought it, but we don't know. I mean, I assume it is an accident. I don't think he meant to bring it.
She said brought it back, which to me was a key point in the way she said that.
Yeah. And that's what she says. It could have been the last 50 years. And then I thought, well, then maybe that's not Mike. Maybe it was her dad that brought it.
Yep.
And Mike just stirred it up with his Ouija board.
And she says this thing can make people physically ill and suicidal.
Yeah. Which that's what happened to her dad.
Yep. Which they never said he was suicidal until the
reveal.
And I was like, wait a second. You didn't say that before.
Like I said, a lot of things get revealed in the reveal.
Yep.
And then when they said that in the reveal, I was like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
To not have been brought up. And maybe they did again.
It might have it. It was cut. Yeah.
We're only talking about what we saw.
What we saw. Yeah.
Because we know from talking to clients that they edit the shit out of these, which of course they do. Like,
of course they have thousands of hours to whittle down to 45 minutes. We get it. But it's kind of shitty editing to put something in that you didn't put in the beginning. That's like telling who the murderer is, but you never introduced him.
Yeah.
So speaking of
kind of a key part of the investigation.
Yeah.
Speaking of investigations.
So Steve went digging through the archives.
Not yet. He didn't go digging through the archives yet.
Yeah. So far, the first thing he does is talk to someone named L.S. Hawker, who is a journalist. And they're looking into this deadly car accident that happened near the house.
Which Rebecca told him about
Yes,
at the
Rebecca
beginning.
did mention it.
And
now,
I thought it was interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm getting my timelines mixed up, but isn't this when he said the local law enforcement wouldn't talk to him about this? So he reached out to, which I thought was very interesting.
He always reaches out to the local cops and they sometimes they won't talk to him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so this was May 25th, 2005, 4 teenagers in a car. I've got all their names and ages. One of them, Ben, was driving.
Ben Modine.
Blew through a stop sign and T-boned a pickup coming from the cross street.
I thought they were T-boned.
Well,
no.
yeah, but
he was trying to beat the truck that was in oncoming. So he had the stop sign and the other vehicle had the right of way. So what it sounds like is when you have a bunch of
idiot teenagers.
Yep, in a car going, don't do it. Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And he tried to floor it to get in front of the truck and thought he could beat it. And he did not.
He failed.
Yeah. So who knows? They did this at some point, but
yeah.
One person died,
on
scene. Female.
Sure.
On scene, yeah. And then another person died 3 days later at the hospital in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
None of them were wearing seatbelts.
Right. And which they did not say in the beginning. They said that in the reveal, but they didn't say it in the beginning.
No, they said it. Oh, never mind. You're right.
Yep.
Never mind.
They said it when they were talking about the second accident. And they were like, they weren't wearing seatbelts here either.
Yep.
That's right. I'm sorry.
But you never said that the first time.
Yep.
Which I'm, again, sure he did. Yeah. So he was charged with misdemeanor because he was just a juvenile.
He was put on like house arrest.
Said he was remorseful and wished it had been him who had died.
Mm-hmm.
And then Steve says he got his wish.
Yeah, he was put on 1 year of house arrest.
Yeah, 1 year of house arrest.
2 people.
Yeah.
1 year of house arrest. Because he was a minor. But he was old enough to be driving a car.
Yep.
So at least 16. And at that point, you should be charged as an adult.
He was 17.
Mm-hmm.
I said at least 16.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying.
17.
To verify, yes. He was
should have been charged as an adult, in my opinion.
And then after he was on house arrest, he just, 3 months after?
Mm-hmm.
I thought
it was a pretty short amount of time after he gets off house arrest that he goes out driving with
3 months
friend.
after he was done with house arrest, which ended in July 2006, he was driving with Joseph Darr, his friend, at 4 a.m., lost control, car flipped several times. They were both ejected. Joseph was hurt but alive, and Ben was killed due to traumatic
driving at
head injury.
High speeds down the highway
at 4 a.m.
And they said that his autopsy showed several recreational drugs,
cocaine,
marijuana, cocaine, and ecstasy in his system.
I stopped on the article.
Death certificate. Oh, the
zoomed
article.
in, and it says that there were traces of these drugs.
Oh.
Didn't say there was a ton of them. Traces. No alcohol. He was driving a minivan. And in the 2005 crash, he was driving a Lexus.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, he got downgraded.
And it also mentioned the other driver of the other car, Leslie Meacham. But my thought...
Was she okay?
I don't know. It didn't say.
Leslie could also be male.
Yeah,
true. You're right. You're
Leslie,
right.
Leslie Nielsen.
Was that person
That's
okay?
right. Yeah, I didn't say.
How dare I?
Or
assume.
I couldn't see the entire article because it was cut. Half of it was cut. But my thought was, so this is probably a rich kid if he's driving a Lexus. And that is why he didn't have to serve any time.
Of course it is. We didn't even need to say that.
I'm guessing he was white as well, but I could be wrong about that. But
we didn't even need to say that. I feel like that was a given.
Yeah.
His parents got a really good lawyer.
Yep. Or they knew somebody on the police.
Or they knew someone on the police or the judge or whatever, and they got him off light. Yep. And then Steve made a point to say, well, maybe if he'd had more than just house arrest, this wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
If he had done jail time or prison time, maybe it wouldn't have happened.
Possibly. We'll never know.
We'll never know because he died and 2 of his friends died. And those families are completely changed forever.
Yep.
Because of the stupid actions you do when you're a teenager. Because your brain is not developed. I'm sorry, I'm done now. But
I don't know if that's who Amy sees, because she talks about seeing a male who's crazy, but why? And his face is all smooshed up from pain. But that's really all we get from.
That could be any of the people in the car.
They don't talk about that in the reveal either. Yeah.
We don't talk about anything.
Either.
And the accident was only a couple miles away. That's why it was,
I don't think it was even, I think it was like within a mile, wasn't it?
Well, one of the accidents they
actually
said was like 100 feet or something.
Yeah. One of them was really close. I think the first one with the
I think
four
it was
teenagers.
the first one. I could be wrong. But
well, yeah. But
I thought, I guess I would have thought the first one was a little further away just because of the stop sign. Yeah, the more of a highway type speed.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless.
I was just wanted to point out when Amy, in that little scene there, when Amy's talking about the guy with the smushed up face, and she says he's in pain, and she like takes a huge breath just to like finish her sentence.
His face is like that because he's in pain.
And I don't know if she was feeling his pain or
Likely.
if she was just that she is so fucking sick she can barely breathe on her own.
both.
But she often
Probably both.
feels their pain because of she's called herself a dead medium. So she's seeing people in their death states.
Yeah. And like how many times has she said, oh, I have a bad headache and somebody was shot, or a stomach ache or heart, or heart attack.
Yeah.
Probably both.
Some of that leads us into our next person, our next speaker that Steve Guzan talks to with the headaches, anxiety, delirium, potential cancer, and even death, as we talk to Garrett Garner Wells, who is an environmental scientist, to see if potentially the water around Rebecca's property is contaminated
by the fracking.
But however, there had been an oil spill of 28,000 gallons the previous year. So there is potential. And then he mentioned a lot of the things that were going on in the house could have been associated to that. But I also put in there, then wouldn't it affect everyone there? Because it didn't seem to be affecting Linda or Mike in a similar manner.
Right.
No, I feel like the only person who had any issues was Rebecca. The others were just witnessing it.
So spoiler alert, the water is tested. We find out at the reveal it is free and clear.
Clean.
Yeah.
It's clean. So
it's not that. It's not the dogs.
Correct. But then we do see Amy talking about seeing the demon again, inhaling water from the ditch with all the mud and gross stuff.
This was so
and
gross.
Bringing it inside
Really
to
gross.
spit at the backs or vomit at the backs of the people so that the evil is attached to them and could cause them to get sick or take their own life, and the living can spread it.
I didn't understand the back. Why wouldn't you do more of the front?
You're more vulnerable from the back.
Like into like the front is where your heart is, though.
It doesn't need to attack your heart.
I know, but like
you're more vulnerable in the back. I mean, any predator typically goes for the back and for the neck.
Except bears.
No, bears.
I'm kidding.
Bears do that.
I know they do. I was making a point to our earlier men versus
humans. Not so much.
But yeah, that was really just getting that visual. Oh God, that is where I had a visceral reaction to that.
She described that really well.
Really well. Too well, Amy.
Yeah.
Too well. Maybe tone it back a bit.
Yep.
Now Steve is searching through old records and he finds out about a farmhand that was brutally murdered. And that's when I said, anyone got a bingo yet?
But was he really brutally murdered when we hear the story?
Yeah.
This one I say is not a brutal murder.
No. I mean,
he was, shot, but
it was, to me, and from what you guys have told me and explained brutal murders like to me like a stabbing, or you beat them to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like ripping your guts out, or
Jack the Ripper was a brutal murderer.
They're all not good.
No, never a good murder.
Put it out there.
Right.
But in this case too, just the description and, probably we're getting very little out of those historical articles anyways.
Yeah.
But for everyone, we talked to Chris Goff, who's an author. And this happened on the neighboring property that was at the time 800 acres owned by Lewis Clinton Rockwell, who was an attorney in Denver.
They owned so many acres.
This is an hour north of Denver in today's driving abilities. in the late 1880s.
It was like a day.
That's a lot longer drive.
Yeah.
That's quite a commute.
Yeah. Gas mileage was probably a bitch.
Yeah. A lot of hay.
A lot of hay.
Yeah. He had Swedish
Talk about
immigrants who were
horsepower.
his farm hands, and they lived in the barn on the property. So they were migrants, basically. They would come in, they'd work for a while, they would stay. They weren't staying for long.
Mm-hmm.
And
here for a good time, not a long time.
Is this who Heidi saw as a kid?
Probably.
Oh, yeah. Going into the barn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I didn't even think of that. Good job. Yeah, I'm sure it was.
So we hear the story of November 11th, 1889.
Which is Jordan's birthday.
Oh, he's old.
Not 1889. 1890.
He doesn't look a day over 4.
I know.
Yeah.
He's aged well.
The farmhands are in the barn, and we hear about Albert Martin, who went to bed around 8 o'clock. They're drinking, playing games. And as Chris said, she said, the rest got hammered. It's like, whew, way to go. I like her style so far.
Yep.
Then we hear about
keeping it real.
Elmer Robb, who she describes as a big guy. And I'm assuming he's the big bully.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's in charge.
Yeah.
You know what he made me think of? Do you remember All Dogs Go to Heaven and the boss dog?
Yes.
With the cigar and stuff. And yes.
He was like a bulldog or something, or a French. Yeah. He was a short dog.
But he was like, he had the air. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it made me think of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it kind of got to.
Us.
That'll be available at the patron level. $5 or up.
That's going to be the Activity Continues OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I was not prepared for that.
He wanted people to fist fight for his entertainment, and nobody wanted to do it, which tells you that this is something that's happened before. Yeah. And everyone's like, no, because he wants to fight so he can win, kind of things.
Right. Exactly.
So they decide to go and pull Martin out of bed, who's been asleep sleeping for hours now. Yeah. And he feels threatened and brings his .32 pistol with him. And kind of gets in front of Rob, and Rob starts doing whatever is his doing, and Martin shoots him in the chest and kills him.
Yep. 3 times.
Mm-hmm. And this was what was interesting, because Chris says at the beginning, the judge Steve says something about the judge has a unique take on it or something like that. Like he was like, ooh, this will be interesting. I side with the judge, though.
Yes, I do too.
The judge refused to arraign. The sheriffs and deputies were all like, we got him. He's gonna die.
We're gonna put him away.
Yeah. And the judge was like, no, refuses to arraign him, and they let Martin go. Mm-hmm. And Chris basically said, Rob was a jerk. He got what he deserved.
Yeah. I think he at one point said he probably deserved to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chris, the author, said that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chris had no love lost for this guy.
She loved
Which, from all accounts, doesn't sound like the world was worse off without him.
Yeah.
He was not nice.
Yeah. I can't fully blame the judge on this one. Obviously, a lot is left out of the papers, which is probably why.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Right.
Well, like, to go and wake somebody up when they removed themselves from a situation, and now you're like, fight for me like a fucking puppet? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm glad the judge did not bring him to trial for that.
Yeah. The article actually said that there was a grand jury hearing, and said the grand jury refused to find a bill against Martin.
Good for them.
I've never heard that phrasing before, but
they just did a tab, not a bill.
I guess.
Just gave him a statement.
Yeah. Just invoiced him.
Oh.
So Amy sees a couple of dead men outside, and she says they're not from here. There's 3. There could be more. They're from the last 100 years, all white, age 18 to 40. There's a skinny one and a built one. And one was executed.
She's not wrong.
I know they killed somebody.
She's not wrong.
Said. They're aggressive, territorial, and don't want to leave. They don't like anybody here.
I wonder if somebody will describe me as built if they ever saw my ghost. Be like, oh, look at that. She's chubby. Oh, she's
built.
She's had one too many Twinkies.
Built, though, when you say built, usually that means
Yeah.
Yeah, it means strong. It doesn't mean chubs. Yeah.
I was being sarcastic. I was hoping. My sarcasm is not hitting today.
Oh, well. Yeah, so next up is the sketch. We're getting there. We're getting toward the end.
Hang with us, guys.
There's going to be two. Hang on.
I'm doing my
Just
best.
go get a soda and come back. She's going to have him draw the demon and the shadow person attacking the woman in bed. Unleash the power of stories anywhere, anytime with Audible. Immerse yourself in gripping stories, insightful knowledge, and captivating characters anytime, anywhere. Audible is your library on the go. With hundreds of thousands of titles across every genre, there's a world of reading waiting for your ears. Listen while you cook, clean, or commute. Free your eyes to conquer your day, all while feeding your mind. Start your 30-day free trial today and discover the joy of listening. Go to audibletrial.com/TAC. That stands for The Activity Continues. With your free 30-day trial, you get 1 credit, 2 credits if you're a Prime member, good for any premium selection titles you like, yours to keep. You get the Audible Plus catalog of podcasts, audiobooks, guided wellness, and Audible originals. Listen all you want, no credits needed. Again, that is audibletrial.com/TAC. Hey everyone, we want to welcome our new sponsor, Gobble. As you know, life can get pretty hectic. Between work, errands, and family time, who always has the energy to plan, shop for, and cook delicious meals every night? That's where Gobble comes in. It's a meal kit service that takes the stress and guesswork out of dinner.
I used to dread the what's for dinner question every night. Gobble has been a game changer. They deliver fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and easy-to-follow recipe cards right to your door.
Exactly. No more last-minute grocery runs or scrambling for inspiration. Plus, the recipes are incredibly diverse. From healthy options to comfort food classics, there's something for everyone.
And let's not forget that cooking together can be a fun family activity. Gobble's recipes are simple enough to involve everyone in the kitchen, even the little ones.
So if you're looking for a way to make delicious, stress-free meals that the whole family will love, head over to the link in the show notes or on our website to get your first 6 meals for $36.
Gobble.
Make dinner amazing.
On to Act 3, the reveal.
Anybody catch how many cases that they've done?
129.
125.
5. That's what I said.
129.
29.5.
Exactly. That's
Right,
exactly how
exactly.
Steve said it too.
Nailed it. I nailed it.
I actually really liked Steve in the reveal. He was very respectful to Amy.
And Rebecca.
Yes. But I mean, like, we all know he doesn't have any love lost for Amy. But he was like, you know, saying how they'd done all these cases together and all that kind of thing. But anyway, yeah. So Amy talks about being sick and how it affects her work. And she says there's a lot of bad energy here, a lot of arguing. Steve thinks it's Rebecca and Mike.
And Steve did say the 125 cases because he thinks this is the absolute worst one.
And I'm inclined to agree with him on that. Like, this one is horrible.
Yeah, as far as what's happening to the client. Yeah.
I don't think we've ever heard of anybody getting thrown around as often as Rebecca does.
And, you know, and going on with what Amy said about the negative energy arguing, and Rebecca's like, yeah, we argue for what feels like no good reason. I'm anxious and not fun to be around. It's heartbreaking.
And that doesn't sound like something she said about herself. That sounds like something that was told to her.
She's repeating that. Yeah.
And then Mike says she gets upset, depressed, and has a negative self-image. Like she's not even there.
Yeah.
Again, a way this is edited, I could be totally off base. Why does this feel somehow controlling from him? It doesn't make sense to me to feel that, like for me to feel the way that I felt about what his words were, because they don't sound controlling, but it was like the way that he said it after what she said. I don't know. There was something that.
Oh, just wait. Just wait. The best line is coming, everybody. The line that made me so angry, I had to physically restrain myself from texting the girls.
Yep.
And they all know.
And then, and then Linda says after this, she never used to be like this, but that's who she is now.
Linda
Again,
said she
like-
used to be like bubbly and
Yeah. Like Rebecca's not even there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe she's not. I mean, maybe somebody's jumped her.
Mm.
No, I meant like they were talking about her like she's not even there.
in the room.
Right. I know. But I mean, I think it's because they
Mhm.
feel like
Okay.
It's not her anymore.
the
Yeah.
Rebecca they know is not there. Yeah. 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 I think this is when they
Mhm.
show the sketch, and that's really creepy.
It
With the
wasn't what I
demon guy?
was expecting
With
it
the-
to
No.
look like.
It kind of, with the ears, it reminded me of an axolotl with the ears on the side. Not as cute, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It reminded me of an ogre from Harry Potter.
oh yeah.
Oh, it does kind
Yeah,
of
it
look Harry
does.
Potter-ish, yeah. Rebecca says this sounds like what Heidi
Mhm.
saw. Not the farmhand, but the imp
Yep.
thing that Heidi saw. Amy Allan talks about how it's sucking up stuff and vomiting it out. She thinks it might have killed someone already.
Yeah. And then Steve connects it to the
Dun,
crash.
dun.
Yeah.
He goes, well, driver was crazy, driving crazy and suicidal. And I said, I don't know.
That's a reach. That
I don't think the kid was suicidal.
I think that's
no.
maybe the second time was like, let's tempt fate. But that's more what it felt like, the tempting fate
Yeah.
being the invincible teenager.
Because he'd already
Yeah.
survived one crash.
Well, even the
Right.
first crash being that way.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
No, I was like,
taught
that's
middle
a stretch.
schoolers. There's a lot of kids who think they can't get hurt doing
Of
anything.
course. Yeah.
Right.
It'll
Right.
never happen to me. That'll
Yeah.
never
Right.
happen to me.
Right.
To me,
Yeah. I immediately thought it was the dad.
that's
Yeah,
what I
'cause
thought
that they were
too.
talking about.
Because after
Mhm.
Steve connects it, then we hear dad was hospitalized for suicidal thoughts and struggled
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
depression. And then we hear more about the visitors that weren't really there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
So, yeah,
this was awful.
It was not Ben Modine. He was not the one that
I don't think so.
the demon was targeting in my mind.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
I think he just wanted to talk about the crash.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is also where Steve says that Ben, the driver, had no drugs or alcohol in his system, which is what they contradicted from.
Yeah.
I
the-
think he meant in the first one. In the first crash, he didn't.
Maybe.
Because
But
he was driving in the first one.
he was driving
he
in
was
both
driving
of
in
them.
both.
I meant he didn't have anything in his system the first one. I'm
Oh.
sorry. I don't know why I said that.
Anyway, I got the impression that Amy also was like, that's not who we're looking at. That's
Mhm.
not who we're talking about, because she just replied, it's just a sad situation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like without saying like, that's a sad situation. That's not what we're talking about.
Because
here."
whenever he hits it or gets it right, she goes, yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Or that's exactly what I'm seeing. And this time, like you said, no, it just sucks.
And
Yeah.
now we move on to everyone's favorite part.
Prepare yourself.
Steve goes, why didn't you tell Amy all the shit you've done? And he does not look happy. Like he is sitting back from
No.
the table. His arms are crossed. Like he is not.
He's waiting for it to
happy.
go
He's
down.
mad because he knows what Amy's going to say.
Yes.
And she
So-
let them off light, in my opinion.
She did.
Yeah. I think I'm going with that she's more concerned about Rebecca than anything. So Mike starts, it was all ill-advised, but we did some sessions with a Ouija board, and then also lists all the other things that they've done.
Mhm.
And Amy's reaction is just like,
Yeah.
Really?
She just
I
goes,
took a screenshot.
she goes, like, you just see her whole body. Like, I can't with these people.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And then Mr. fucking Mike.
Nope. We got a little time before we get to that. There's a big piece here we can't skip over.
I've been waiting all
I will let
recording
you
to
have
say
your
it.
moment,
Thank you.
but I'm gonna talk right now. So I'll let you have your moment. I'll let you finish. Anybody
Okay,
reference?
Kanye.
Reference. Thank you.
Got it.
So we then have Linda say that she doesn't like it and doors shouldn't be open if they have no choice. And Steve asks, so did they bring it in, meaning the demon? And Amy goes, no, your husband actually likely picked this up. And there's something, then there's something else. And Amy shares about the shadow man, and Rebecca's face is absolutely shocked. And then she says, the man with the Ouija board is the one that brought this thing here. It's the biggest threat to you. It's trying to pull you through the walls every night. And then Steve shows more of her bruise pictures. That's where we see some of those really nasty bruises. Like these are purple.
Yeah.
And she's saying the jealousy of the shadow person is causing this because it wants her to go home with it.
and it doesn't understand that she's not a shadow person.
Yep.
So in its brain, she's a shadow person and it can't understand, and it's frustrated because she can't go with him.
And Steve then says, "Are you feeling bad at this?" As he's also like pushing his chair back. And he asks that to Mike. Megan?
And then Mike says, well, actually, it was Rebecca's idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he goes, it's not really
fucker.
my fault or idea to do it. It was Rebecca, and she was seeing it before the Ouija board.
And then Amy goes, the demons told me a man and a Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, because Steve looks at Amy and goes, are you buying that?
You buying this bullshit is what I took it
says,
He
as.
goes, all I know is what I'm shown.
Is what I see, and what I saw was a man with a Ouija board. And then Steve goes, you're busted, cuz. Forget about it.
Yep.
You're blaming Rebecca for this? She started seeing this black shadow before the Ouija board. You buying that?
All I know is what I see, and what I saw was a man with a Ouija board. And then this thing was there.
You're busted, cuz. Forget about it.
Fucking A, I hate this guy.
And like, God, the way that everybody reacted around the table, like, lying sack of shit is what Amy and Steve are showing on their faces.
And Linda doesn't like him either. You can just tell from her body language. She does not like him.
Yeah. And then we see the picture of the shadow person. And I don't know if what you guys thought of Rebecca's reaction. She was like, okay. And it took her, I think, like 30 seconds of being like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm like. She's wiping tears off her face, but being like,
because this is the thing that's essaying her at night.
Yep.
And it's like, it's this humanoid form all in black, and it's hunched over her like on all fours, one hand
pinning
on
her
each
down.
side of her head, pinning her down over her.
Yep. And I wrote that Mike didn't seem, at least in that reaction, that disturbed by it.
Because Mike doesn't care. Okay.
Right.
Mike doesn't care.
And then Amy says, yeah, it could accidentally kill you trying to get you to its realm.
Or you'll go missing. It'll be successful and it'll bring you to its realm, and you'll be missing.
Yep.
Forever. And they'll never know what happened to her.
Yep.
And now we get to the end where what do they need to do?
This was so heartbreaking.
Yeah. Basically, there's not much they can do.
For the shadow figure.
For the shadow person, yep. She's in an abusive relationship that she can't get out of.
She can't leave.
And I wrote in parentheses, are we still talking about the shadow person?
She could get away from Mike. Yeah, basically this thing is going to try to take her forever. And any measures that she does will be temporary at best. Yep. Amy said they might last for maybe a few months.
And then, yeah, going back to what they said at the very beginning, she said, we've talked to this, we've had an exorcism, we've had a demonologist, and she's always said it worked for a little while, but then inevitably came back.
And that's what Amy said. She said,
that's basically what's going to happen.
Hopefully one day this thing will get tired of trying to take you, but essentially that's the only way she can get rid of it.
Or he figures out how to get back to his own realm without her.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even Linda, her mom, is like, I was hoping for something better. And I'm like, of course you were. Like, you're basically told your daughter is going to be in this abusive relationship her entire life.
Yeah. Well, and I was worried for Rebecca's mental health because she's saying she can't get rid of it and she does not want to live the rest of her life with it.
I caught that too. And I was like,
that made me
someone
real
needs
nervous.
to watch her, and someone needs to make sure that she is okay.
Yeah.
Because it's anywhere she goes, if she goes to Mike's, if she's home, it's anywhere. This thing is going to try to take her.
Yep.
So for the slug thing, that other thing,
the demon,
Amy says they can find a local tribe that with a shaman or a medicine person from the tribe who can come and protect the property.
Yeah.
And Mom says that should be easy to do. We should know. We should be able to find somebody like that. But then
the text at the end,
she is still looking for a shaman.
And the protection measures are working for now.
Yep. The attacks have stopped for now.
Yep. Which that was like the most heartbreaking part about this whole thing.
Yeah.
This whole episode.
I really would love to talk to them, or at least her. Rebecca.
And Linda.
Or her mom.
And not
Yeah.
Mike.
Mike can stay home.
Mike can, or wherever. Hopefully not with her. So this was it was a good episode. It was really, really.
It was really good.
It was.
It had a lot of good things in it. I felt really bad for Amy.
I know. She sounded.
She's already sick as a dog, and then all this shit's going on.
And she has to deal with Mike. The worst part of it. I'm just kidding. Oh, all of my browser is filled with flatworms, which is something I've never said before. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Next week, we will be talking about an episode that I chose called Evil Descends, and it's another season 9, episode 8. Takes place in Murrieta, California. So I got really excited and I chose like 4 for spring break. And Amy was like, overachiever, you only need to choose 2. So
yeah, this was one of them.
This was one of them. I had backups. And AP will be gone next week as she will be celebrating her brother's birthday.
Yep.
So it'll be just Amy and myself.
Yeah.
That's right.
Back to the good
our
old days.
roots. No, not the good old days. The roots.
You guys, I listened to our very first episode.
Oof, how bad was it?
I think. Oh, it's. I mean, I laughed. We're funny,
obviously,
but
hilarious.
But it was. I was like, oh, and plus we each recapped an episode, so it was like
super long.
Let's just say it was long. Yeah. I'm glad we don't do that anymore. That was ridiculous.
What were we
thinking? We'd run out of episodes a lot faster.
Yeah,
I know.
And now, if we all 3 of us had to recap an episode, that would be like 3 hours.
We'd be here till Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's
I can't.
Monday,
I've got to catch a plane tomorrow.
That's true.
I'm excited to hear about the ghost walk you're doing.
Yes.
So,
when is that?
Friday.
Okay.
So
yep.
Next time we record, which won't be Monday, but the time after that.
Well, yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Activity Continues podcast. We really appreciate you giving us your ears for a bit. Please feel free to drop us a note and say hi. And join us next time when the activity continues.
Nailed it.
This is just a disclaimer and sort of warning about this podcast. The Activity Continues podcast is in no way affiliated with the Dead Files, its production company, or any of its distributors. We are simply fans that love the show and love to talk about it and dissect it and, yes, make fun of it. But we do love it. And all of the opinions expressed herein are ours alone and have nothing to do with the Dead Files or any of its cast, crew, production, or distributors. And we swear. Enjoy.